because that seed had been planted. And like I said, actually the behaviour was a big one because I'd enjoyed that I kept getting children who had been pretty much thrown out of other schools, and I loved helping turn their behaviour around because they were always happier after. And that was becoming trickier because of a lot of tick boxes in schools. But the other thing was I had started to see a different route I wanted to go down.
Hello, my name's Jenna. I'm an online primary tutor, and today I'm talking to Ellie about how to quit teaching and become a health and wellness specialist. If you are new to this channel, say hello down below, and if you are working in this line of work, let me know as well. Thanks so much for joining me today, Ellie. It's lovely to chat to you.
Oh, likewise. Thank you for having me.
We came across each other on Facebook. You actually posted in another Life After kind of teaching group. And I was really interested because you have built a brilliant brand. So obviously we'll go on to that in more detail in a little bit. But what was your role in education originally before leaving?
So I was a primary school teacher full-time for over 12 years, which anyone who's a teacher listening to this will know involves everything, because as well as full-time class teacher, I was the science coordinator. So I do science
Oh,
weeks,
wow.
science week, science days, get visitors in. I did the Eco Schools Club. So I got the school, like one of the schools I was at, the Eco Schools Award. I was MFL lead, so working towards things like the International Award, creating links with schools in Africa, doing the school residential. Teaching is a crazy roller coaster, but in so many good ways.
Definitely. And what year groups did you do in primary, or did you do a mixture of all?
I did a mixture. I started in Key Stage 2, Year 5. Thought I'd never move from Year 5. I absolutely loved it. Actually, the last 3 years of my teaching career, I was in Year 1, and equally for different
Oh.
reasons, loved that.
Oh, wow. And what would you have said was the positives of Key Stage 2 versus Key Stage 1? Because obviously, like you say, totally different, but different expectations within each year group.
I loved Key Stage 2 because the relationships you build with the children and the kind of depth of learning, you can just really get into things. You can get into debates about things. You're talking about the careers, taking their life further. Obviously, with the year ones, in terms of the learning, it's kind of at a much different level. But they have such a lovely, inquisitive curiosity in year one. It's that kind of open-minded that does start to change as they get a bit older.
And what would you say are the challenges of both key stages, in your opinion?
Um, I think year one, the challenge was, as you'll probably know, schools are understaffed. So I had 35 and 6-year-olds, mostly with no teaching assistant.
Oh,
I
wow.
had two who didn't even have speech yet and couldn't kind of write the letters. They were learning to write the letter S. And I had one or two who could write 2 or 3 pages of A4 for a story. So managing like the huge range of academic needs as well as a huge range of emotional needs within that as well in year one. Key stage 2, I guess it's the keeping their attention, inspiring them, like behavior. I enjoyed that challenge actually, but it's a whole different, you come in at a whole different angle because at that point they're teenagers and you want them to take things to a whole new level and just not focus on being teenagers.
And what point did you start to think, this isn't for me?
I actually went on a course and there was something that I could never get out of my head after I went on this course. And the lady running the course said, unfortunately, as teachers, we have to be a barrier, and we need to be a barrier between the people above us in teaching and our class. And the more I thought over it, the more it was true. And that was probably kind of the beginning of me leaving teaching. I worked in an area where the children, a lot of them were from some quite challenging backgrounds, and they needed kind of that mum side as well as the teaching side. They needed their well-being massively taken into an account. Behavior management as well. People underestimate how much children like boundaries and they like to know where they stand and they like the rules in class. Unfortunately, teachers in a lot of schools can't manage the behaviour of their class because there's so many things, barriers put into place. You know, they have a right to playtime, they have a right to this, to the point you can't actually help teach them how to behave and be happy. The other side of it is from above you, you're trying to just tick all the boxes to make everything look pretty for Ofsted. So
Hmm.
what I wanted to do as a teacher was be the best person I possibly could be to help those children, but that went against what the people this side wanted off of me to tick boxes for Ofsted.
And not many people know about that, do they, from the outside perspective? They only see, if you're a parent, you only see the teacher and
Yeah.
your child and what you want for your child. But when you've got 29 other children, it's very, very challenging. And then obviously, I imagine with you doing different subject leads, you then had those challenges of you weren't just a teacher anymore. You had to balance leadership versus the teachers in a sense, because you needed something back from them, obviously, I imagine, with assessments, because I did in my subject role, and it gets very tricky then. What was the kind of final thing that made you think, right, I need to make a change, I need to go?
I think because that seed had been planted, and like I said, actually the behaviour was a big one because I'd enjoyed that I kept getting children who had been pretty much thrown out of other schools, and I loved helping turn their behaviour around because they were always happier after. And that was becoming trickier because of a lot of tick boxes in schools. But the other thing was I had started to see a different route I wanted to go down. So it was
Mm.
actually a mix of the two. I'd started to have my eye on like the coaching. And as I started to weigh the two out, I thought, actually, I can help these children more. I can help the staff more. I can help the parents more if I come out of this and into a different role.
And who inspired you, or was it an event that inspired you, or was it just that comment from that trainer that you originally spoken to? Like where did that health inspiration come from?
It was again a combination of different things because firstly I realized I was someone that lots of people came to talk to when they were struggling, whether and it might have been senior leadership came to me, it might have been other teachers, obviously children. I had parents who'd just come and offload onto me. I actually have had a few situations where I've not been able to get out of a taxi because the taxi driver is telling me about their marriage problems. I thought I must be someone people can just open up to and talk to. And on top of that, constantly, I was seeing teachers who were on deprivation diets, low confidence, struggling with their physical health, but also struggling with their mental health. And because I've always studied nutrition personally anyway, because I'm fascinated by it and I've got the science background, I thought that was kind of it. It was seeing people struggling on top of seeing how I could help.
That's really interesting because I found when you were trained to be a teacher, you were kind of given the perfect scenario, but you weren't really taught about, you going in. So, for example, I was in nursery, so go in and teach sounds, but that child might have witnessed something the night before, or something might have happened that just totally set them off. So, like you say, getting to know those people and then those people coming to you and sharing with you, and you realise, oh, hang on a minute, it's not just surface level, there's a lot more to this. So then you obviously had an idea about what you were going to do next. How did school react to you leaving?
It was something that, because it was an idea, and I guess it was an idea that I talked about. It was never a surprise when it came to it. But alongside that, it worked out really well because for personal reasons, I ended up moving across the country. So at the time, I was living in the Northeast. I'm now living over in the Northwest. So I actually thought, right, I'm going to see out that class right through to the end, and I'm going to kind of coincide my definite change as I move across the country. So it was new location, new start.
Oh, okay then. So it wasn't as dramatic, or it was just a natural progression, really, the
It
way it
worked quite
happened
well
for
because
you.
at that point I was leaving anyway to move. So
Oh,
I started doing the courses while I was teaching, which obviously is quite a big commitment, but I thought I want to get something underway. But I thought, yeah, I'll time it that I move, and that is going to be new location, new start.
and what were those courses that you were training in alongside while you were leaving?
So I trained as a life coach initially. because it was the mental health side was a big part that interested me. I kind of went through a mental and physical health transformation myself through that. So I did the life coaching course. Then I was certified as a nutrition coach.
Oh,
And then more recently, I have done a high level certification as a health and wellness specialist. So I'm someone who always likes to learn the next thing and get updated because science changes literally every day, doesn't it? An update. So I'm a what's next person.
oh wow, that sounds brilliant. You've definitely kept yourself going all the time. So then you did that training. So then what did your business look like in the very beginning?
So to start with, as I was doing the course, as part of a lot of these courses, you coach people. So I actually had my initial clients were unpaid clients who I was doing the course with, and we coached each other. That led to some paid one-to-one clients. So it was very small scale to start. And I was doing supply work alongside that because
Oh,
it took the pressure. In fact, I was doing some supply work and a part-time job as a travel agent just to help me work my way out.
wow.
I do. I've had many jobs. Because we're renting at the moment, I didn't know if you needed that piece of paper to say you had a steady income, and obviously to go into being self-employed can initially cause you some problems with that.
Hmm.
So I started with some one-to-one clients, and that then led to people asking me to do workshops. I've done family workshops. It led to doing the group programs, which has led to more one-to-one clients. So it's built up from literally kind of one person and gone from there.
And how did it feel going from, say, a class of children and lots of people to deal with in terms of leadership to just working to a one-to-one client? Because when I went from teaching, then I did supply like yourself, and then I started tutoring, and it was such an odd feeling just being able to focus on one child at a time. Was it nice to be able to just focus on one individual?
Absolutely. I mean, there's the little bit of the other side to it that it was actually very difficult leaving teaching after, quite a number of years because I'd always had 25, 30 children kind of almost dependent on me. And they're my children. I'd go in and they make you smile every day. And there was actually a bit of a kind of hole for a while where you don't have that because, that's what you go into, that energy every day. But the other side of it was kind of a huge weight lifted that I could be that person for someone in the moment, which in an ideal world, I'd have done that separately to each child I taught in class, but you couldn't.
So, what skills did you take with you from teaching to your new role?
Well, it's teaching is coaching, and coaching has an aspect of teaching within it. But I think the biggest one, which I took pride in doing in teaching, was really getting to know the children I worked with. And in terms of nutrition coaching, for me, it's not about giving someone a diet, it's about really getting to know them because you don't know what's going on in someone's life. You don't know what's driving them to eat the things they eat. You don't know how busy they are. So it's the really getting to know the children. Well, it's the same. I'm really getting to know each person I work with now. Time management, IT skills, um, organization, problem solving. The list goes on with teaching, doesn't it?
Definitely. And what was your kind of age group then when you went into your new role initially?
My main clients are probably 40s, 50s average.
Oh, okay.
However, over the summer, I've been doing family workshops. So it was focused on the adults. Someone else was looking at healthy living with the children. But at the end of each session, we bring them together and I would talk to the children and bring them together with the adults to hold each other accountable. So actually, through my coaching, I started with adults, but I was always going to at some point bring children into it as well.
You just miss them too much.
I just missed them too much, yeah.
And I suppose that's really nice though, because they do say obviously about the mental health crisis at the minute. Many children and teenagers are really struggling. I'm talking to someone else actually about how to support students because they are struggling. Have you noticed a difference recently with how families, adults who maybe don't have children are coping in the general times?
It was, I would say, around COVID when the children started coming back into school, it was actually quite upsetting to see how some of them came back, because a lot of people struggled with that situation. The children hadn't been with their friends. They came back, and a lot of them, even as young as 5, weren't coping. And I think that has then carried on. I think other things contribute to it: stress, poor diet, the internet. So many adults, obviously, we've all kind of got our phones in our hand. People don't switch off anymore. You see what's going on, you see other people's problems. It's kind of this endless. So you can see how cracks start to appear. And that's part why I did the life coaching as well as the nutrition coaching, because I do a lot of mindset work. So we look at the nutrition that supports your mental health, but also how you can take control back of how you think.
And so when did you start your new role initially?
It's been a gradual process of probably like 3 or 4 years. But I did a bit of a rebranding actually at the beginning of this year. So I feel like I did a bit of a relaunch beginning of 2024. So probably since about 2022, but kind of relaunch 2024 for kind of new branding, new business, new start.
So if we compare the initial period then to now to your new rebranding, how would you say they're different? So what did you do then and what do you do now that is totally different, and the reason behind that?
So if you come out of a full-time job into building your own business, you've got that income, the safety net pulled out from under your feet, and you have all this stuff to figure out. And someone actually put it to me really well. So anyone listening who thinks about this, consider that for most careers, people will do a 1 or 2 year college course or degree even, or apprenticeship. So I guess I would say that the first 1 or 2 years was figuring things out, like how do I build a website? How do I market? How do I build to clients? So it was very much learning for me, trying different things out, seeing what worked for other people, seeing what worked for me. This year it's more of the right, I'm putting everything into place now. So I've got the programs in place, I've got the workshops going, I've got the one-to-one. So I nearly see it as up to the beginning of this year was my course apprenticeship.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. I've never thought of it like that actually, because it is so many tutors who I know, they'll say, I'm not a business person, I'm a teacher. And it's such a change in mindset, like you were referring to. With any business going into it, you do have to change your mindset. But I like that though, like you've had your training years and now you're getting cracking on what
And you are in sales. That's what we've all got to get our head around. Lots of people don't like sales. I don't like sales, but as a tutor, as a coach, as anyone, we're all in marketing and sales if you're doing it for yourself.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So then, what are you currently offering? What do you do now then that you are helping families with, or adults in general?
So I do a variety of things. I've actually come from doing a careers assembly to an entire room of high school children this morning, which isn't
Oh my
something I
goodness.
ever planned to do or did, but that was quite exciting. I am launching my final 12-week transformation program of the year on Monday, which
Oh,
is a small group. It's done through accountability, giving lots of recipes, building healthy habits, all that mindset work. So it's a way that people, whether financially maybe can't commit to one-to-one coaching yet, they can join a really friendly group and we work together on getting them towards their goals just in time for Christmas. So that starts on Monday. I still offer one-to-one coaching. And the next venture is actually to do workshops for staff in schools for health and well-being.
and how do you think that will go down? Because you will know as well as I do, whenever extra things were added onto your workload, there was often a groan. They were like, oh no, please not something else, please not something else. We've got so much to do. So how do you think, or maybe you haven't thought about that, but have you thought of any ways to approach it with it being beneficial, obviously, but in a different way to how you would have, schools would have put it to you possibly about going on a type of retreat or something?
I completely understand where you're coming from, because as a teacher, there was nothing worse. If someone had come to me on a Monday and said, we've got an hour after school today to like do something about well-being, I'd have been like, no, I just want to go home and put my pajamas on. So I can completely understand. However, my experience is that there's a lot of these teachers who are doing things like slimming clubs and after school anyway.
Oh,
So the initial plan, and I'm collaborating with another lady on this, is that we're actually going to put a questionnaire to teaching staff and go, this is what we could bring you, what would be most beneficial to you, and actually put it into their hands as, when would be best for you, what would you like, what would get you the furthest.
that's a really good idea because there's so many times you put things out there as a business owner and it flatlines, it doesn't work. But you do have to put that research in because I was talking to somebody else and they said, when working with partners and that kind of thing, they give it like a month's trial to see how you collaborate. But that's again another way to do it, which is really, really interesting. And in terms of the marketing side as a business owner, you've done very well. I've seen your Facebook. I'll share it down below, obviously, all your details. But was that scary in the beginning? And, how did you research about that, getting your name out?
I think if you're starting your own business, it's being consistent, and I would say even persistent as well, and not giving up. I had a client that started with me this year, and her first message to me was, I have been watching what you do for a year or for about a year. I love what you do. How do I work with you? And because there's so many different social media platforms now, people are approached all the time by different businesses, and what they need is to get to know you. It's a know, like, and trust. So
Mm.
to just be consistent online, I absolutely love networking in person. I network online, just being genuine with people. And
Mm.
if they just get to like you as a person, and then a problem that they face happens to be what you do, they'll come to you.
Yeah, I've had that in the tutoring world. I had a parent actually the other week and they said, I've been following you for some time. Kind of have a meeting with you because I do like instruction meetings, and that's really, really true because people won't buy from someone they don't know, or they won't inquire with someone that they don't know. They have to feel like they know you, which is really good tip actually.
And
And
it
I
might
like
be six
how
months down the line. It might be way down the line that come to you.
yes, definitely. Because I've put adverts out 4 years ago when I started, and now I'll get people responding to that advert from 4 years ago, and it blows your mind, doesn't it? Like when someone's followed you from the very beginning, you're like, oh no, what did I do 4 years ago? I hope it was okay. Because you obviously change, don't you? You change over time. So, what tips would you have for teachers that are potentially thinking of changing careers? What do you recommend they do first? And, to help them along the way.
I would say just don't be scared. Start building your ideas first. I'd done like two of my courses, and that required many hours a week. But if it's something you really want to do, but don't be nervous. Obviously, you will have to take a cut in pay. It's being realistic, but there is always supply. So
Mhm.
I always had supplies, a safety net. It's like I know that's there. If I need it, it's there. And talking to other people who have already done it. So I think you're going to be sharing my details. I'm happy to have a cup of tea and a chat with someone, and let's talk through your ideas. Um, I just think the more people you've linked with who've done the same, the more you can see what you can do.
Yeah, that was one of my original ideas for starting this channel because before I originally left, there was a point in teaching where I was like, I need to go. But I didn't know what to do. No one else did anything different. And I was like, what do I do? And the feeling of being stuck was horrible. And I never ever want anyone else to feel like that ever again. And so by all these amazing people, such as yourself, sharing how they did it, it gives people, I think, a plan. Think, right, that person felt stuck as well, but they changed and they did this, or they just wanted to go and do something else. So it's lovely, like you say, thank you very much. That's really kind that you'd be able to talk to people and share, just have a friendly voice really to chat to, which is lovely. Really, really nice. Really lovely. So where can we find you online then if anyone wants to work with you?
So my business is Ultimate Health by Ellie. So you can pretty much use that for most things. I'm Ellie Ultimate Health on Facebook, Ultimate Health by Ellie on Instagram. Ultimate Health by Ellie hyphenated is my website. So yeah, just message me on any of those. And like I said, I like to chat, so I'm always happy to help people. And I think it can be a big scary step. And like I said, just surround yourself with people who are positive and moving forward and go along with them.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for chatting to me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, lovely to chat. Thank you for having me.
If you liked today's video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to see who else I'm chatting to. And please check all the details down below. Thanks for watching.